Hello and good morning and welcome to another episode of the Gospel Brunch. We are on episode 8. Super excited. We're just going and I'm really loving doing this every morning. I just absolutely have so much fun. Today's Tuesday and it's episode 8, like I said. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm really amped for this episode because we got a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. First off is Apple Day, Apple Event Day. Every year, Apple has an event talking about the new stuff that they're rolling out, and most people have their eyes on the telephone that Apple has invented called the iPhone. As you may or may not know if you've been living under a rock or just visiting Earth for the first time, this is the 10th anniversary of the iPhone, so it is going to be something else. So it's going to be really exciting to see what they roll out. I'm excited. I watch the Apple event every year. So that's later on this morning. But before that, we've got Gospel Brunch, and I'm so excited because it is a jam-packed episode. So let's just get into it. So the thought that I wanted to share with you guys is something that I've been thinking about, wanted to share with you, and it's real simple. It's just discipline comes before greatness. So you can't be great at anything without being disciplined first. I think if you want to do anything, whatever it is you want to do, whether you want to, walk on the moon or swim the English Channel or write a fantastic album or be a better girlfriend or boyfriend or husband, none of that comes without being disciplined, without deciding this is what I want to do and this is what that means in everyday life. This is what that means practically. This is what that means on a day-to-day basis so that I can eventually do that thing. And if you don't have the discipline to walk out the steps that it takes to achieve your goal day to day practically, then you'll never get there. And so everybody that you look at's great. When you look at, Floyd Mayweather, like him or hate him, he's 49 or 50-0. And the only way that he got to be there was discipline, practice, training, what he eats, what he doesn't eat, all of that kind of stuff. Michael Phelps, same way. A lot of people say, genetically he is, has advantages because he's got long arms and long feet, all that kind of stuff. And that might be true, but if he didn't have the discipline to get in the pool and train, all of that doesn't really matter. He could get beat by somebody who decided they're going to discipline themselves and train. So that's just kind of my thought to you guys that I wanted to kind of throw out there. Something that I wrestle with myself is just, understanding how central and how important and how crucial discipline is to whatever you're wanting to do. So for me, wanting to be a better rapper and person, but rapper, since this is the context we're talking about, since I want to do that, what that means is I have to be disciplined. I got to read. I got to write. Write every day and really challenge myself. I got to read up on the business side of things and find out how royalties work and all this kind of stuff. There's a whole discipline that comes to wanting to be a great rapper or wanting to be a great musician. You got to practice. You got to really hone your craft and be good at it. Because I think that at the very foundation of music anyway is great music and great songs. Or at least that's how it used to be. I still think that that's kind of how it is for the most part. And so if I want to write great songs, I got to practice writing songs. And so, the church I go to, we do a lot of worship. We're known for our worship. And they have hundreds of songwriters. And they write hundreds of songs. And maybe one or two of those songs becomes a real hit, a real worship song that, kind of takes off. But it takes a discipline of getting in there and writing and trying things out and stretching yourself to produce that. And so if you don't have the discipline to walk out what it takes to achieve your goal or your dream in everyday life, there's a good chance you're not going to ever reach it. And so discipline comes before greatness. If you want to do anything, make sure that you're disciplined to do it first. Make sure you figure out what it takes, especially in the short term, day to day, and discipline yourself to do that every day. And I think eventually you'll get there. You'll get to realizing your dream. So discipline comes before greatness. Discipline yourself. And I think, okay, so I'm saying discipline. Like, what does that even mean? I think discipline means doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do, being focused and making the decision that you're going to do the things that you don't necessarily want to do, that might not be the most fun, doing those things that aren't easy to do, and just making the decision to do those things that aren't easy to do in order to be great. It's like paying the price or making those deposits into what you're wanting to do, making that deposit of putting in the work so that you can be great. Because greatness, I think a lot of greatness is just hard work. A lot of greatness, I believe, is hard work. And discipline is doing that hard work day in and day out, irrespective of how you feel, irrespective of your circumstances. Like when you make that decision and that commitment to put in the work every single day, I don't know that it's going to be a very long time before you're seeing what you want to see and you're achieving the greatness that you want to achieve. So, case in point, discipline is the prequel to greatness, and it's the quickest way to get there is through discipline. So, yeah, hopefully that encourages you. You know what? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump into what I wrote, because I wrote this morning. That's why the broadcast was a little bit later, is because I spent some time really going in on this writing that I wrote. So I'm gonna do it, but I'm actually gonna set it to music. Like I got on SoundCloud. There's a producer that I really admire. His name is AG, and yeah. So I wrote to one of his instrumentals. I think the name of the instrumental is called 27, and yeah. So I wrote. So I'm gonna get into this talking. I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna talk about it. And then we're gonna go into some other stuff. All right. So here we go. Yeah. I use the whole thing, I don't let nothing go to waste. Every experience is lessons learned and truths to face, so I'm facing it. Learn to see the good, now I'm awakening. To the blessings I've received, opportunities, now I'm taking them. Pump faking on my past, leave it in the dust as I drive. Look in my eyes, no disguise, you can see I'm alive. Mask off, blast off, cause I was called to the skies. I'll meet destiny and greatness before I meet my demise. Ooh! So that was what I wrote. I'll do it again now with no music so you can maybe focus more in on the words. What I wrote was, I use the whole thing, I don't let nothing go to waste. Every experience is lessons learned and truths to face, so I'm facing it. Learn to see the good, now I'm awakening. To the blessings I've received, opportunities, now I'm taking them. Pump faking on my past, leave it in the dust as I drive. Look in my eyes, no disguise, you can see I'm alive. Mask off, blast off, cause I was called to the skies. I'll meet destiny and greatness before I meet my demise. So yeah, that's what I wrote. I guess this morning I was just thinking about everything. Like just in life, like you have good experiences, you have bad experiences, but I feel like in life, the way that I'm trying to live, I use all of the experiences, all of my great, wins and the lessons and the losses. I use all of it, because all of it is trying to teach me something. All of it I can learn from it. So that's where I go. Every experience is lessons learned and truths to face. And sometimes when you have like a loss, or a lesson, there's like a hard truth that you have to face. Like maybe you're in that position because you refuse to face that hard truth. So now on the other side of the loss, like you're confronted and you really have to face that hard truth lest you lose again. So that's where the hard truths come in. So I'm facing it, learn to see the good, now I'm awakening. To the blessings I've received, opportunities, now I'm taking them. So I feel like when you confront those hard truths and really accept them and apply them, I think that you're positioning yourself to receive more of what life has in terms of blessings and opportunities. And you're positioning yourself to not only see those opportunities, but you're positioning yourself to actually take action and take those opportunities. So that's where that comes. That's kind of where the thought behind what I was writing there. Pump faking on my past, leave it in the dust as I drive. I kind of switched to like a basketball analogy because I have this thing where I just, for me personally, I feel like I'm always battling who I was yesterday and trying to really shake off that guilt and shake off that regret and shake off that, just whatever, just the regret from the mistakes that I've made and who I've been in the past. So I feel like it's almost like a basketball like scenario where like who I am now is like being, I'm playing who I was, and I'm kind of battling who I was, kind of like in a basketball sense. So, you know, he's just guarding me, you know, my past and my regrets are just guarding me, trying to block me from the goals that I'm trying to get to. So like I like pump fake and then just drive around. So real basketball terminology. So that's where I say pump faking on my past. And as I pump fake and drive, I leave him in the dust. And then I think that look in my eyes, no disguise, you can see I'm alive. Yeah, I feel like, you know, I don't know. I feel like when you're able to drive past your past and head towards your goals, and when you're reaching your goals, I feel like that's when you're the most alive, and you can see it in somebody's eyes. Like when somebody's talking about something they're really passionate about, or a goal that's really like in their heart, you can see that they're alive. I feel like we're the most alive when we're pursuing what's in our hearts. So that's kind of where all that comes from. Mask off, blast off, because I was called to the skies. I think that just really talking about authenticity. Like there's no mask there. Like you can see I'm really alive. There's no facade. There's no front. And as I'm reaching my goals, I'm just ready to climb higher and higher and higher and higher, because that's where I believe I was called to. I'm called to really reach the stratosphere. You know, like to really, I feel like we're really called to soar. And so that's where the call to the skies thing comes from. I'll meet destiny and greatness before I meet my demise. And that's just, you know, me wanting to accomplish everything that I was set to accomplish before I die. You know, really, really wanting to exhaust my potential and walk out my destiny before I take my last breath. So that's kind of a deconstructed view of what I wrote and where it comes from. I really had fun with this. Like, this might be something that turns into an actual song. But I really had fun with this. You know, I'm trying to write every day, and like, you know, sometimes, if I'm honest, I'm just writing to write, you know, making sure that I write every day to check off the box. But then sometimes, like, you know, something like this will happen, and I'll actually start out writing to write and just kind of jotting lines. And then the lines kind of take form and shape, and I begin to feel it. And it's like, oh, wow, okay, this has potential. Like, I can feel it and see it. And so this is one of those ones where I'm like, man, this could turn into a song. So stay tuned for that. And you heard it here first. So, so yeah, so that's the daily writing. I would encourage you, if you're doing something, if you're an artist or creative or whatever it is, I would encourage you to create or practice your craft every single day. Because if you're getting better by 1% every day, that's a really great that interest compounds, if you will, and you get better and better and better and better and better and better and better. So with me just writing every single day, I'm hoping that on day 100, and I'm knowing that on day 100 it's going to be so much better than it was on day 1. And yeah, that's my goal, is to just be a better writer for myself, be better than I was. Not really competing with anybody, just competing with myself. I want to be better than I was yesterday. So that's why I'm writing every day. And I really, really was feeling this one. Hope you were too. And yeah, shout out to AG with the dope instrumental, like I said, 27. So there's that. All right. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but on the weekends I drive for Uber and Lyft, and it is so much fun. Like I really like it a lot, because I love people. I love interacting with people and like asking them questions and talking to them and encouraging them. And I had some really, really dope conversations. So I think that for today, we'll see how it goes. I want to tell some Uber stories because it's just some good stuff. So just some crazy things happening. So I just wanted to share with you guys. So I think one of the highlights was I was driving this weekend, and I picked up these girls. They were students at the university nearby, and they were all dance majors. And so we're just like talking. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And like, oh my gosh, we had the most horrible night. We were just chilling, walking down the street, and these guys threw this giant bucket of bubble water on us. And like I was like, what is bubble water? But basically it was like dishwashing soap, like water that you use to blow bubbles, like because that's how I blow bubbles. But anyway, water that you would use to blow bubbles, they just threw it all over these girls. They're like drenched. So they're like, you know what? We've had enough of this. We're not even going to this party anymore. We're going home. So I was taking them home. So on the way home, I was like, I'm so sorry. That's awful. It's horrible. Like, I can't believe somebody would do that. You know, whatever. And then started talking about dance. We started talking about like, you know, dance and stuff, like Center Stage, and it's a movie, whatever. So they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you know about that movie, whatever. So we're talking, and they're like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm a rapper. So like, you know, I rap and I do that for a living. And they're like, oh my gosh, can you freestyle? So I happen to have a freestyle track queued up. And so I pressed the freestyle button. and the freestyle music's playing. I'm just like rapping, like just going off, and I'm like, you know, incorporating like different things about them, and incorporating, you know, the school that they go to, and like what street I'm supposed to turn on, and all of this for like 2 minutes, like literally just going in, and like I was really feeling myself, because I was really like just in the pocket, hitting it, going. It was fun. I was having fun. So at the end of the ride, I dropped them off there like, oh my gosh, like you totally made our night so much better. Like you totally just brightened our night. It's amazing. We're so excited to go to sleep now because we were so shook by that freestyle. It was so dope. We had such a great time. Thank you so much. Will you drive for us all the time? And of course I can't do that. But it was just cool because like it was a 2-minute freestyle, and like I was just, you know, having fun. But to know that that could like totally change the scope of their night from horrible to amazing was really, really cool. And like I didn't even really do anything. I just, you know, used my gift. And I think for me that was huge, because that's all I want to do anyways, to use my gift to positively impact people. And I got to do that. And it was in just 2 minutes. Like it just took 2 minutes, you know, and like their whole night was changed. And that was incredible. I was so grateful to even have been in that situation, grateful to even have been that driver to pick them up, you know what I mean? And so it was really cool. I wish I would have recorded. They recorded it, so if you see it on the internet, that's probably me. But I didn't get it from them, because I don't know, I could have used it as content and like shown y'all and everything, but like I didn't want it for that. I just wanted it to be something that, like, you know how it says there's a saying, and the saying says, when you're doing something good for somebody else, don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. You know what I mean? And so like I didn't want to like use it for content. I'm just like, man, just let them have that, and let it be what it is. Like don't use it for content. Like just you know, just something cool that happened, and that a moment that we shared, and it's over. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yes, I'm telling you guys about it, but like, you know, I just didn't, I don't know. For me, I was just like, it was cool enough to know that I helped brighten their day, and that was enough for me. I didn't need to use it for content, that kind of thing. Although it would have been cool to have, but at the same time, I was just kind of like, you know what? God bless y'all, and just leave it like that. So anyway, it was super cool. So I had fun. This next story is insane. Oh my gosh, I can't even get into it. Like, okay, so there might be some questionable language, just because I'm quoting what the person said. So please understand. And once I talk about it, it'll make sense. I don't want to say questionable language, but I'm gonna just keep it really real if I can, and hopefully you guys will see my authenticity and not get offended. So anyway, I was picking up this guy. It was like 3 in the morning. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning, so like super late. I'm driving around, and I'm picking up this guy, and I'm trying to find him. He's on the side of the road. I can't find him. So I had a moment where I thought, you know what, Gospel, just cancel the ride and go back home, because I'm like in the middle of nowhere, like way out from where I live, on the other side of Phoenix, west side of Phoenix. And so I'm like, you know what, you could probably just cancel the ride and go home. But I was like, you know what, I had just got off the phone with him. I said, you know, I'm gonna come get you. So I'm like, Gospel, you need to honor what you say, because it says that a good man honors his word even when it hurts. So I'm like, I'm gonna honor my word. So I picked up this dude, and he had no shoes on, which is fine. It just kind of struck me. Like, he's just, you know, this suburban looking kid, got his polo and his shorts on, but no shoes. I didn't ask about it. It's whatever. I picked him up. He ended up being a nice guy. He's 18 years old and just came from Missouri to Phoenix. Only been in Phoenix for 2 weeks. I don't know why he was on the west side of Phoenix, because we had to drive a little ways. But like he was way like 30-45 minutes from his house. But anyway, I don't know how he got there, whatever. And he was on the side of the road, so whatever. Anyway, so I picked him up, and he's a cool dude. You know what I mean? He was a cool dude. He, you know, a lot of people that I drive are under the influence of alcohol, which is why they're having me drive them, which I think is really smart, for them to have a designated driver to call Uber, Lyft, whatever. So he had a couple or 3 or 5, and so he was kind of, you know, just a little bit lit or whatever. And so we're talking about music and rap and stuff, and so, you know, I'm just mentioning certain rappers that I like. And so I mentioned this one rapper, and he says, "Oh, I love that." I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it really real with y'all. All right. So this guy's a suburban guy, so he, you know, he doesn't look like me. He's white. He looks different than I do. So he's like, "Hey, I love so and so. This guy is my that rapper is my man, I'm having such a hard time like even trying to say it in front of y'all. But he basically said that he loves this rapper, and that rapper is his N-word. But not like an N-word with a hard R, but an N-word with the A on the end, like rappers use when they talk about themselves. So he said it, and I was just like, I was just driving like, oh, and like it woke me up because I was kind of sleepy. It woke me up like, oh shoot. But I didn't say anything, so we just kept talking about different things and just kind of talking about life and everything. And so at one point he says, you know what, I'm really sorry that you have to go through certain things because of your skin color, and I really hate that. And I'm like, well, thank you, I appreciate that. And he was like, you know, I really try to be respectful, and I really try to, you know, be respectful when it comes to, you know, my African American friends, and that's why I say the N-word with an A instead of a hard R. And so at this point, we had driven for like 20 minutes, and like I had known that he was pretty cool. Like we were kind of pretty cool with each other. So I told him, like, you know what? Like a lot of African Americans would find it offensive that you're saying the N-word with an A anyway, that you're even saying it with any kind of, you know, suffix. And he's like, what do you mean? And so for the next 20 minutes, I was able to kind of just sit down and just tell him, well, we were both sitting down, but I was able to just kind of tell him, well, you know, this is what this word historically means. You know, it has a word that is very painful, and it's just not a good word to use, whether you're using it with whatever suffix. And if you're not a member of the African American community, it's really frowned upon for you to be using it, even if you use it with an A on the end. And he had never heard that before. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I told him, I gave him this analogy. I was like, well, it's like if you go over to somebody's house that you're friends with, or that you may have like an acquaintance, and you go into their house and you don't knock and you open up the door, and then once you get inside, you put your feet up on the coffee table, take your shoes off, put your feet up on the coffee table. You go in there and you open up the fridge and you make yourself something to eat. Like you're a guest in their house, and you're like acting like you live there. And so I kind of used that analogy to explain it to him. And I'm like, you know, look at Eminem. Like Eminem, you know, he's really a part of black culture. I mean, arguably so. Like just, you know, but he's never gone there, because he understands that that's a word that is so loaded. And it's also a word that African Americans use in a different context. And if you're not a member of that group, you really don't have any business saying it. So like I just kind of really laid it out for him. And at the end, he was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I never saw it like that. He was so apologetic. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, don't be sorry. Like I can imagine you probably you've never had anybody ever tell this to you. And out of all of your African American friends, maybe you've never had any that have been close enough to break it down to you like this. He's like, you know what? You're exactly right. I only have 3 or 4 African American friends, and they never told me about this. So I'm like, well, you know, you didn't really know better. So there's grace for you. But now that you know better, you have a responsibility and accountability. And so it was just such an awesome conversation because, you know, I could feel that he was open to what I was going to say. So when I broke it down, like he totally understood exactly where I was coming from. And I really feel like it made a positive impact. So from there, we used that understanding to kind of springboard into the idea of privilege, right? So how I tried to illustrate that to him was like, look, man, we're in this car. We can go get water anytime we want. We can stop at a Circle K, go fill up with some water. We can just make it like we can fill this entire car up with water. Meanwhile, there are people in certain countries that like have to travel, you know, 20, 30 miles to get some water. And that's all the water they have for the day. This, that. Then they have to boil the water, whatever. So we kind of have a privilege when it comes to our access to clean water. And so because we have this privilege, it's not necessarily bad, not at all. But because we have this privilege, we have an obligation and a responsibility to use that privilege to look out for those who don't have that privilege, to look out for those that can't necessarily easily access clean water. We have a responsibility. So I use that to talk about kind of the privileges that he might enjoy that I might not. And so we were just talking about different things. I'm like, if we get pulled over, you're worrying about getting a ticket. And I'm thinking, I hope I can survive this encounter alive. And he's like, I had no idea. So it was like the craziest conversation because like, it wasn't even something that I was just about to just drop knowledge. Like, I'm gonna just tell you how it is. It was just kind of the conversation went there, and he was so willing and so open to kind of hear what I had to say. And it was beautiful, right? Like the dude was just, when I finally dropped him off, he's like, man, thank you so much. Thank you so much for, everything that you've said. I've learned so much tonight. It's incredible. So it was just really, really dope. Like, just, it really blew me away because he was so open to what I was saying. Usually when you bring these things up, people get defensive. They're not trying to hear what you have to say. So I really kind of look at the moment and look like, is this the right moment? God, do you want me to say something here? Yes or no? Because if not, then you're just kind of wasting your breath. But if you are, you have the potential to really kind of impact the way that somebody sees the world. And that's I think conversations like that are so important, but they have to happen in the right context. So here we are traveling 45 minutes, you know, from point A to point B, and this person's kind of like leading the conversation so I can kind of open up. He kind of created a lane for me to talk about these things and have a discussion. And it ended up being really fruitful. And so it was insane. The dude, it was so funny because, you know, people leave tips and they leave comments in the app. They have the opportunity to leave comments. And I think his comment was, where was this? Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me, because I want to misquote it. So he ended up writing a comment. He gave me a really great tip, and then he ended up leaving a comment. What did this comment say? Okay, so it says, I was just telling my friend about it. So I have it. Oh yeah. This is what he says. This is what he says after the ride. First of all, I got 5 stars. But he said, best eye-opening conversation I've had in a very long time. Who knew an Uber drive could turn into a spiritual journey? Like, that's what he wrote. So it was amazing. Like, it was such an amazing night. And I really love driving because I love people and I love getting to know them and encourage them and all kinds of stuff. So that was what happened this last week, and only 2 of the great stories. It's been fun. So yeah. Yeah, that's a good place to leave it. So those are my Uber stories. I always have so much fun when I'm driving. It's amazing. I love it. Every weekend is so much fun. So yeah. Anyway, that is going to do it for the Gospel Brunch Show. If you are watching this, first of all, thank you so much for watching. I actually have so much fun making these videos, and I hope that you have just as much fun watching them. If you have found any kind of encouragement or motivation or something, or value from it, I would love if you would share this from your wall on Facebook, and if you would subscribe on YouTube, because I make these every weekday. I will say that I'm taking questions because Q&A Thursday is on Thursday, but it'll be a pre-recorded, my first pre-recorded broadcast, as I will be traveling. So I would love to get questions from you, so feel free to DM me, email me, message me on Facebook, message me on Instagram, hit me up on Twitter, all that stuff. Hit me up and let me know what questions you have, because I will be answering questions on Thursday. So, yeah, that'll do it. Like I said, if you found encouragement, or if you like these videos, feel free to share these on your wall and subscribe. There'll be a button somewhere on the screen where you can subscribe. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I will definitely have some things to say about the Apple event. All right, you guys have a great Tuesday. Happy Apple event day, and we will see you tomorrow.